Nothing is possible.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to News and Views right here on Salam Media. We now in the segment of Ramadan away from home, and we'll be chatting to a South African medical doctor now residing in Australia. Safiya Khan gives us insight into what Ramadan looks and feels like down under away from home. Assalamu alaikum, Safiya, and welcome to Salam Media.
Wa alaikum salam, Zaira. Happy to be here.
Alhamdulillah. Safiya, how long are you now in Australia for?
So it's been 12 years in total. I've been in two different cities while I've been here. But yeah, 12 good years, alhamdulillah.
And tell us a little bit about Ramadan where you are. How much of it is the same as being back home? What are the cultural differences? What are the things that you miss the most? Or is it just very much like a copy and paste of being back here?
Well, to be honest, it's not that different. Here we have similar patterns in weather, and also like our fasts are the same amount of time that you would do in South Africa. So we have, alhamdulillah, pretty decent hours, and the atmosphere is here also, alhamdulillah, especially since I've moved to Brisbane. I used to live in Tasmania
Mm.
a while back, where we had a much smaller Muslim community. But alhamdulillah, I've been in Brisbane now for 8 years, and the area, alhamdulillah, now that I'm living in, I'm fortunate that it's got quite a large Muslim population. So atmosphere is here. There are about at least, I would say, 3 masajid that I could easily get to. So, like if you passing by, if you're breaking your fast at the masjid, there's people to join you. There's a Tarawih Salah that we can attend after as well. So very much you feel in the month, and neighbors
Alhamdulillah.
also.
And you've got a very strong South African Muslim community around you in Brisbane because Brisbane is often known as a South Africa version too, if I'm not mistaken. Tell
Yeah,
us a
so I
little.
think
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think they are in this area, especially where I am. I think you would say Brisbane and Perth are the two cities in Australia where you have a large amount of like a lot of South African people have moved here as well. And in that sense, I think it, as you said, a copy and paste situation. I feel like I've transported from one South African city to another one because a lot of my neighbors also are come from South Africa, but not all of them. There's also the difference in the sense that we have many other communities as well in the same area.
So I'm going to come to that in a little bit. I'll ask you in a short while about the cultural differences. But tell me about Tasmania when you were staying there. I know at one stage when you had just moved there, if I'm not mistaken, there was no Salah facilities. Or tell us about your Ramadan there and Tarawi there. I don't want to give too much away.
So when we were in Tasmania, we were actually a really small community. The community has grown a lot since then. But when I was there, it was basically a handful of people, and I knew no South Africans as well. I had like a Jordanian neighbor. I had Iraqi friends that I knew, and maybe even there was another Pakistani doctor who my husband knew as well. So it was relatively about, you would say, 3 to 4 families, and we would get together in Ramadan, but there was no masjid, so we wouldn't go for. There was nowhere to go for Tarawih Salah. Basically, even the men, they would pray at home. We would meet once a week to do an iftar together. So there was a community center, and we would meet on a Saturday and do iftar together, which was nice. But obviously, there wasn't like we wouldn't meet community that often.
And I think that must have been a huge change going from a South African community into one where there isn't even a mosque close by or a place to be able to read Salah together or have that sense of community togetherness more than anything else.
Yeah, I think that it was a big change, but it was also, I think it was good in a sense that I felt like I had to step out of my comfort zone, and I had to make then links and friends with people who were of a totally different cultural background. So we connect on the things that we have in common, that we were Muslims and that we fasted together and we wanted to pray together. And those are the things that brought us together. And in a sense, we found a very warm space with each other. And we used to do these weekly meetings even out of Ramadan. So on a Saturday, we used to get together just to have supper and just give the kids a sense of, that they are other people of the same faith. and the ladies would do a small halakah. The kids would play together. We would eat together. We continued that through Ramadan, and then for Eid, like when Eid came around, then we actually at our house we would do the Eid Salah and celebrate together. Yeah, so it was a good learning experience, I would say.
Alhamdulillah for the common threads that bind us. And I think it's remarkable that you went into a community, and I always say nothing is coincidental. There was a reason you had to go there. There was a reason that you all had to meet, and there was a reason that this had to start there. And it's always wonderful to hear that South Africans were at the forefront and the initiative of actually doing what needed to be done to facilitate a sense of community and building an Islamic basis there for the many families that would still come. Safia, where you are in Brisbane now, we speak about the copy and paste, but there must be still some cultural differences that are different in the way you do Ramadan, or whether it's your iftar or your suhoor, or the essence of the atmosphere in Ramadan there compared to back home.
So I'd say the biggest difference for me would be I find we have a very easy access. Look, I can't remember. I mean, it's 12 years ago now that I was in South Africa. And even when I was there, I had young children. My children were very small, so I wasn't going out that often to the masjid. And now that my kids are older, I am. So I am seeking out the opportunities to go. And I find that it's very easy here for me to go out for Tarawih Salah. I have a range of options. Some of the masajid are really good that they have even like babysitting facilities, which I don't really need now. But for moms with very young children, you could leave your children there. Somebody would mind them, and you would go and pray Salah. You would get your Tarawih Salah done in congregation. And then there are other masjids also. There is always a space, and I find it's like really easy to go and do that. And then the other difference would be that the multitude of different nationalities that you would find in the masjid. I mean, we have. I think they would say that the Australian Muslim community is full of immigrants. I mean, from Asia, Africa. Then you have like the Indo-Pak area, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and a huge Malaysian community as well. So we'd find all these people meeting in one area, and everybody coming with their own like cultural dress, their own customs, their own little things they bring to entertain their children. Like you'd see the differences between us, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful to see people coming together in that space.
Alhamdulillah, what a united feeling to also see that everyone holds onto their cultures but are still united in the same framework of their religion, which is fantastic. Safia, for you, I know that actually, before I get to that last question, let me ask you, your children, do they really know a Ramadan back home in South Africa, or do they only know a Ramadan out there in Brisbane?
Um, I think I have been home during Ramadan in my 12 years, so they have an idea, although it's not like it hasn't been for a long periods of time. I think there is one difference though, is that when I go to my mother's house, then there's always like I don't do a lot of this I don't do a lot of savory preparations and all of those kind of things because I don't have the help here also, and I'm not so good at it. But they do remember that mom's house has always has these smells and this wonderful beautiful food, alhamdulillah, which I mean it's really nice. But I mean um that's one thing I think they do remember of my mom's house. But otherwise, I think most of the Ramadans have been here. And what they do remember most of Ramadan is our Ramadan evenings, which have always been full of going out to the masajid. And it happens every Ramadan since my even my youngest one was a baby. I would take him out and we would go. So that has become like our strongest memory, I think, of Ramadan.
Yeah.
And also, I think because we have, well, the South community is much larger and we are much smaller here, but that also causes us then to always remember each other. So like we're always giving neighbors or friends gifts at the beginning of Ramadan, and or like taking our platters of food to our neighbors, even the ones who are non-Muslim, just to like give them an idea that this is the fasting month and this is what we do. And I think those are their strongest memories of Ramadan, and it's here in Brisbane.
Alhamdulillah. And I think, like with any granny's love language, it's always food. I know that your kids are definitely missing South African savories, but
For sure.
what that you miss most about not being home? I know it's 12 years, but there's always
Mm.
still a link with every South African we've spoken to say home will still always be home. So, what is it that you miss the most, if there is anything about South Africa, especially during this month?
I think it would be connecting with my family, especially because I mean that that feeling will never go away. The feeling that you are like far away from your siblings, your parents, and my grandparents, my grandmother when she was alive. Um, it's always that being able to make iftar with them, and see them on a more regular basis. Those memories from my childhood, and even the customary food that we would have, which I don't do much of now. Um, but those memories, yeah, I think those are the things that I miss family, and I really miss my friends, and I miss the ones that I had close bonds with. And even though we have technology now to connect, it's not the same, and it can never be the same.
Absolutely. I know it can never be the same. And, it's always good to know that South Africans, no matter where they are in the world, still have ties and strong links back home. And, from all of us back here, we wish you and your family a blessed Ramadan Mubarak. May it be one filled with ease and mercy and peace. And inshallah, please remember us in your duas as well.
I mean, thank you so much, and wishing Ramadan Barak to you and all the families in the audience as well.
Jazakallah. That is Dr. Safiya Khan, a medical doctor from South Africa, now living in Brisbane for the last 12 years, coming to us live just before the iftar to tell us a little bit about the cultural differences and their life there. I think no matter where you go in the world, home will always be home. Shukran for joining us for that segment. Stay tuned. When we come back after the ad break, we'll continue.